Hello everybody, we are doing a quick look at the Dragonfly Red. A subscriber asked about whether we're going to do a review of the Red, and so let's just do one. Now the thing about the Dragonfly Red is that it's an interesting product. It's a USB DAC, and you can get a lot of USB DACs now. That's just a USB stick that are probably less pricey than the Dragonfly, but the Dragonfly is considered in the audiophile community to be, perfect. Many people swear by the Dragonfly, both the red and the black. I think it's a good product. I don't think that it is the most amazing USB DAC chip on a thumb drive, but it does produce some fairly good sound. Now, what is the shtick behind the Dragonfly? What is it that Audioquest says is so important about it? Well, they say that it is a partnership with a microchip manufacturer, which is Microchip Technology, and it is a low power consumption DAC amp, and it has very low signal-to-noise ratio. On top of that, they say it's 32-bit digital performance, and it uses an ESS Saber DAC, the 9010 in the black, and the high performance 9016 in the red. So the 9010 is the lower spec on the black, and the 9016 is slightly the higher spec on the red. Now, whether or not there's a difference, I don't know if there's a sound difference in reality, because I don't have the black, so I can only discuss what's going on with the red. Now, what exactly do you get out of the red? Well, according to Audioquest, you get processing capabilities up to 24-bit 96 kilohertz resolution, which is fairly good, especially for a mobile device. If you want a higher resolution, you're going to have to shell out a lot more money for something much more dedicated, like, say, an i5 product or a desktop DAC system, which is what this tries to avoid, especially for the size. It's pocketable. You put it in your pocket, you put it in your backpack, and you go. You can use it on your computer. You can use it on your mobile device. Now, here's the thing. In order to use this on an iPhone, which is what I have, you need an adapter. And no regular Lightning to USB adapter is going to work. Dragonfly makes that very clear. If you go on their Amazon website, they say under the listing that you must buy the camera Lightning adapter from Apple. Now, if there's a third party that's not created by Apple, which does basically the same thing, I don't know if that is compatible with the Dragonfly. So Dragonfly, according to Audioquest, will only work on your modern iPhone, iPhone 10 or iPhone 7, using the Lightning to camera adapter. And the Lightning to camera adapter has a USB port on it, and that's why you got to use it. That's just the implementation that Apple has restricted other people to have to use. You can't just use any Lightning to USB adapter. It has to be something like this. And if you want full compatibility, I mean, no worries that it's going to work or not. You have to use the actual Apple branded adapter. Now, a subscriber specifically asked how it works on the iPhone, so that's what we're going to limit this to, at least today. It's just to the iPhone. And the idea is, when you plug this in, this is supposed to provide cleaner sound compared to, let's say, using just a Lightning to 3.5 millimeter adapter, which does nothing. It just converts the Lightning port to a 3.5 millimeter as if it was still on the phone. This, however, takes the signal. It can process the signal to 24-bit 96 kilohertz max, according to Audioquest. And it also decreases the signal-to-noise ratio depending on your device. And so theoretically, you're getting cleaner sound, you're getting higher resolution sound. Now, of course, that depends on what type of sound music file you have. Now, if you have a noisy, poorly compressed MP3 file, this stick is not going to do wonders for that. It's not going to dramatically make it sound like it's a FLAC file or a CD quality file. But if you have something that's fairly good quality, say if you have FLAC files on your phone, then it would probably make sense to have something that is a dedicated DAC that's attached to your device if you want to listen to the full resolution or nearly full resolution FLAC file. Because if you just use your 3.5mm dongle, you're probably not getting the full experience that you could get if you have something like the Dragonfly. Or at least that's the theory behind which Dragonfly was created. But according to Audioquest, the Dragonfly is not limited to high-res files that are stored on your phone like FLAC. They claim that any file would benefit to a degree using their device. So you could use streaming services, and the streaming music that comes in, you're streaming off the internet, that file is going to be converted for better sound according to Dragonfly's website. And this is what they say. And this is specifically for Tidal. They say that Tidal Master's MQA playback is available on iPhones and Android smartphones. MQA's technology folds high-resolution files into smaller files that can be streamed on the go. And so basically what Audioquest is saying, the MQA file format, the decoding and the coding in the MQA, when it gets to your phone, the Dragonfly can recognize it and then use the decoder, and that's part of the app, by the way, in the Tidal application that's on your phone. Use the decoder and then send you the MQA bits. Okay, so you get the high-res music because in relation to the MQA file itself, the coding. So you get the benefits of MQA using the Dragonfly, according to Audioquest. Okay, so they're making a whole lot of claims here, which may or may not pan out. Now, here's what I'll tell you. With my usage on my older 2013 MacBook Pro, it's not great, because there's a significant amount of noise that's generated through that USB port. It's not a fault of this device. It's just a fault of the USB port. I have tried to attenuate that by using a passive USB hub. That just, well, I guess it's not passive since it draws power from the port. But I've tried to attenuate any noise by plugging this into a USB hub instead, and that helps a little bit. But there's still significant noise because of the older USB port that was implemented in the 2013 MacBook Pro. Newer models of the MacBook seemingly do not have much of an issue about that, but my older one does, and I figured you should know that. If you have an older device, it may not completely be compatible because of the hardware in the older device. Okay, so how do you work this? So let's just turn this thing on. And I'm going to try to bring down the brightness here. There we go. That's better. And let's go into Tidal, because we want to use Tidal. Don't make me log in again. Okay, log in. Okay, so we have Tidal. And as I've said, you have to use the adapter, plug in the adapter. And once you plug in the adapter, this will light up. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to go into the settings, you don't need to select anything. This automatically lights up, it's compatible with the iPhone, you're done. There's nothing more you need to do. And you're ready to go. In which case, we're using the HD 660S. And there are a lot of adapters involved in this. Okay. There we go. So the idea is that you will look like a total doofus walking around with something like this in your pocket. So let's assume that you have a 660S and you have the 1/4 inch, and then you're going to need an adapter from a 1/4 inch to a 3.5mm, which is then going to go into the Dragonfly Red, which is then going to go into the adapter from Apple, which is then going to be plugged in to your iPhone. This is an arm's length worth of stuff. And if you feel okay doing that, that's great. But this is basically what you got to do if you have something like a 660S setup. Okay, so we know that this is on. It's drawing power from the phone, and it's already ready to process. We have title going, so let's start with let's just pick a song. Don't send me notifications, just do what I say. Let's do my test playlist, and I can't do the test playlist, of course, because it's not recognizing. Let's go to Will We Talk by Sam Fender. It's explicit. It's marked E. Now, the question you're going to have is, does the 660S get loud enough on this setup? Well, let me show you. This is how loud is loud on the iPhone on this setup. So I'm going to take it up on volume, and I'll tell you at what point I think it's loud for me. It's a personal, subjective opinion, but bear with me. Here we go. Right there. And that's about 80% volume on the iPhone. So the only thing we're using here is the iPhone that plugged in to the Dragonfly Red, and it's using the amp in there, and it's just, so 80% volume is where I would max it out, and that would be the loudest I would ever take it. And comfortable listening level for me, yet again, it's subjective, would be probably about 40-50%, no more than that. I think that's good listening level. So the question is, how does it sound? Clean. There's no distortion. There is no hissing. There's no popping. There's, in fact, one of the surprising things about the Dragonfly Red is just the fact that it works. You don't have to go into any settings. You don't have to install anything on top. We're talking about iPhones, obviously, so it might be different for Android devices. But frankly, all you have to do is plug it in and go, and you're ready to have higher quality signal. That's really nice. You don't have to spend any more time fiddling around with it. But the sound is the issue. Does it make sense to buy something that's over $200 or around $200, depending on where you get it, if the sound is no different from just using a regular 3.5mm adapter? So let's try that. And this is going to be a little difficult because I don't have a splitter, so I'm going to have to keep going back and forth. Okay, so let's start with, let's go to a song that I do know. Let's go to Haim, Want You Back. Here you go. And her vocal is up front. It's supposed to be up front. This is a vocal-centric song, as I've said many times before. And what happens is that you get that strumming of the guitar, but the guitar is about 2 or 3 steps behind the primary vocalist. The other thing that comes out very, very clearly, especially on the 660, is that there's a growling nature to her voice when she says "and." The letter A gets kind of caught in the back of her throat, and it sounds like a growl. It's a very visceral type of tonality. So, and that happens about 5 seconds in. So let me just start again, and let's hear that. And then the other thing she does is "we." When she says the word "we" at 9 seconds of the song, it's a crackly voice, and it comes out very visceral. It just seems in your face, but not in a bad way. It just seems very natural. It's coming off really well. The tonality seems to be pretty neutral to her voice. I don't find a particular emphasis on any frequency so far. Now, of course, we're only about 10 seconds in. Let's keep listening. There's clear soundstage left and right, so what happens about 20 seconds into the song is that the 2 backup vocalists, one's on the left, one's on the right, clear separation. They both have different tonalities to them, so they have their own individual frequencies that you can hear, and they're also not particularly in sync. So they're about a second or so off from each other, the backup singers are, that it comes off really naturally. I hear no emphasis on the bass. So when the guitar is strumming in the background, it's very nice, gentle, natural tonality. It doesn't overpower anything else in the song. There's also no sibilance that I can hear at this juncture. The vocalists are still central song. Nothing has been overpowered. Let's keep going. Now, one thing I will say is that about 28 seconds into the song, she says something, and I can't remember what it is. Let me play it again. Yeah, she says, "I ran you down," and the word "down," as it ends, there's supposed to be an echo. It's a generated echo into the song. It's not something that actually happens in the studio. It's just something that they've added into the mix. And you will not hear a true echo. It doesn't keep echoing as I've heard it before on other headphones. That's not necessarily a knock against the Dragonfly. I'm just pointing that out, that there is a slight echo here. It's just not as prolonged as I've heard it before in other headphones. Now, if you have Tidal right now, or if you have Spotify, or you have the song and you don't have the Dragonfly Red and you're playing it off your phone, your mobile device, get to about 27 seconds of the song, and when she says "ran you down," concentrate on the word "down." If it sounds like there's an echo and it keeps going in the echo, then that's good because that's mixed into the song. But if you can't hear the echo, then you know that there is indeed a difference between the Dragonfly and what you're getting off of your mobile device, because the Dragonfly does in fact reproduce that echo. Let's keep playing. So when the drums come in and the guitar is playing, it's all very, I wouldn't say it's flat, but it is in fact neutral. Nothing is overemphasized. Now, I said previously, and I've said it many times about this song, the vocals are centric, so they should be at least 1 to 2 steps ahead on the soundstage versus all the other instruments, and that's exactly how it comes across with this combination. You know, the 660S with the Dragonfly, and the bass has no overpowering emphasis at all. It's fast, you hit, and it moves on. There's no reverberation to the bass, there's no sibilance, there's no muddiness to the song. It comes across very transparent. Again, around 1 minute and 30 seconds, the backup vocalists come in and they echo what she's saying. They're left and right. They're not in tune. They're not on key with each other. So one is slower than the other, and they both have different tonalities. That's clearly defined with this setup. Okay, so let's switch now to the regular method of listening, which is just a 3.5 millimeter dongle. Okay, still the same setup with the 660 with the 1/4 inch adapter, and let's play this. Max volume, which would be, it doesn't get uncomfortable. It does not get as loud as the Dragonfly Red. At 100%, it's definitely not close to what it was, about 80% on this. So the power output on here is much more efficient than it is just straight out of the phone. And about 80% right out of the phone, it sounds comfortable listening level. Whereas it was about 40% to 50% comfortable listening level on the Dragonfly setup. Let's go back to about 27 seconds. So let's see if we can find the differences of the backup vocalist. Yeah, I can still hear the difference between the two vocalists, the backup vocalists. They sound pretty much the same to me with the Dragonfly Red. I will say that I don't think that the bass is as clean as it was on the Dragonfly. I think the bass coming straight from the DAC on the phone is muddier and looser. It's just not as tight as on the Dragonfly, because as I said on the Dragonfly, once when the drum hits, it just hits and it moves on. It's very fast. But on the phone, it hits, and then there's this kind of weird, lazy reverberation. It's not even a real reverberation. It's just kind of an echo of the bass that remains for another second or so. And so that's a very clear difference between the two so far. And overall, the vocalists aren't ahead of the rest of the instruments. I would say they're more in line, shoulder to shoulder on the soundstage. So let's say you have the soundstage, right? So here's the soundstage, and here's the primary vocalist, Dragonfly Red's primary vocalist, and the backup singers on the left and the right. That's how it should be presented. But instead, out of the phone, it just sounds like this, and then all the other instruments are lined up about the same as well. So it presents the song in not the natural, actual way that it was recorded and it was supposed to be presented to you. Whereas the Dragonfly Red does get you that experience. The DAC out of the phone doesn't. Now that might change depending on which phone you have. Now I have the iPhone 10X. I have the iPhone 10 Max S, whatever, the newest one. And so it's using that DAC chip. If you have a different phone with a different DAC, that might change that, and you may get the same experience as I'm getting on the Dragonfly Red, or you might get a worse experience, or you might get a better experience. I don't know. That all depends on the DAC implementation and the amp implementation on your mobile device. Overall, is there a sound difference between the two? Yeah, on this song, there is a clear difference between the two. Not only is the tonality more natural on the Dragonfly, I think, with the vocalist, I think that they are much better separated from the other instruments. Furthermore, I think the bass on the Dragonfly Red is also tighter and faster when compared to the one on the phone. The volume, significant difference. The Dragonfly Red is just more efficient with respect to volume. And 100% on the phone, driving the 660S was barely loud enough for me to say, you know, it wasn't too loud. Let me put it that way. 100% on the phone on the 660S was not super loud, but about 80% on the Dragonfly Red was very, very loud for me. Good listening level was around 40 to 50 on the Dragonfly Red. It's very imprecise to say because they don't actually have numbers. You just got to read bars. And comfortable listening on the phone directly was about 80. So you can see there's a big difference in efficiency of the power. Okay, let's go to something else real quick. Let's try Kazuki. Let's see if he's on here. Kazuki? How do you spell Kazuki? Let me go on my website. Where is it? Let's do New Light by Kazuki. No, it's not showing up. Kazuki. This is Kazuki. And then Will it not show me? This is the problem with Tidal. Like, I can't find what I want to find. I know I'm doing something wrong. Tidal has its own particular way of doing things, and it won't tell me how. Show me all the singles, please. This is such a waste. You know what? I have a better idea. Sorry for wasting your time because Tidal does not want to cooperate. Let's just do Mountains by Hans Zimmer. Nope. There we are. So the Interstellar soundtrack, let's go to Mountains. And it took so long to get to that because Tidal is terrible with searching. And let's play Mountains. This is still out of the, just a straight up adapter, not using the Dragonfly Red, obviously, because it's right here. And this is on master quality on the streaming. I'm at max volume right now, and it's very comfortable listening. Like, I could definitely go louder. You can hear the tick-tock fairly well. It seems a little muted. The rumble is not as pronounced because when the song starts, the rumble is supposed to be very pervasive, and it's supposed to overwhelm everything else until the tick-tock comes in. And straight out of the phone, the rumble just sounds more laid back, if that makes sense. It's not as pervasive. It's not as in your face. Let's skip to the middle where there's the crescendo. So right in the middle of the song, when the crescendo hits and the organ comes in and all the instruments are playing, it's good, it's just not great. And here's why. If you have a very good setup with a good amp and a good DAC and a good pair of headphones and the quality is good, everything is good, right? What happens is the organ comes in, but you can hear all the other instruments, and there seems to be a lot of air to the song. There's a lot of width to the song. There's precision. There are some instruments here that just start getting ear-piercing, including the organ. It should get so loud that it's about to make your ears bleed. But the problem is the iPhone will never take it that loud. That's number one. Number two, the separation of instruments at that portion of the song where the crescendo comes in is not very good. So I can hear there are multiple instruments. I can hear the tick-tock. I can hear a higher frequency instrument of some sort. I just can't find them in this sea of loose bass, which is what happens. It's not tight bass. It's not something that I can say, here's the bass, here's the tick-tock sensation or the tick-tock sound, here's the organ, here is the wind instrument. I can't say that. There's no real clear, definitive separation amongst all those instruments. It just kind of feels like it's all thrown together in a big pot. And whatever comes up at the top comes up at the top. You really can't get much out of it. If that kind of makes sense. But let's switch to the real deal here. Come on. Okay. This lights up in a second. Now it's ready to go. Okay? Orange, orange. See that? Orange, orange. So master is orange. This is also orange. If that's a true, if that's supposed to be like mimicking what the quality is on title, that's pretty cool. That's good implementation. Okay, let's start from the back. And I have it at 100%. I'm not going to do 100%. Let's do start from 50 and let's move forward. Here we go. I take it up to about 90% volume. It seems much louder than just out of the iPhone. It sounds wider already, whereas the iPhone seemed a bit more claustrophobic in the soundstage. With the Dragonfly, there seems to be more air, more width to the song. And that rumbling was tighter, noticeably tighter. Whereas just out of the phone, it seemed kind of loosey-goosey. It was just kind of lazy rumble that comes in. The Dragonfly brings it in, it's emphasized, it's tighter, so it rolls off faster than it did straight out of the phone. And let's move forward to about halfway to get to the crescendo. I'm increasing to 100%. So it definitely gets very, very loud if you couldn't hear on the Osmo Action here. It gets very loud. The ear cups start shaking when the crescendo comes in. I can hear the separation. The separation is better than just out of the iPhone. It's not as good as I would want it to be, like on dedicated desktop amplifiers like an RME, a Magni, maybe a Magni, but the THX or the Monolith, I keep forgetting the name, the Monolith. The separation is significantly better when compared to the Dragonfly Red, which makes sense. You are significantly limited to what is here. So you're not going to get the same type of quality that you would from a dedicated desktop amplifier. Let's just be clear with each other. But when compared to the phone, yes, there is a noticeable difference. The rumble is significantly better. The power is significantly more efficient. It gets louder. You get that more tight response overall. And when it comes to the separation midway through the song, I can hear more of the detail in the higher frequency. It still doesn't get sibilant, but I can hear the individual notes cleaner than I did coming straight out of the phone. And let me play it back just a little bit and try to find a specific thing I can point you to. Yeah, so here's the thing. About 2 minutes into the song, when everything is coming in, like all the instruments are playing, here's what the Dragonfly Red does. The organ is playing, but it's playing a little bit more to the right than it is to the left. You have a high-pitched instrument also on the right, and it's separate from the organ, so it's totally different, its own tonality, very clear, very much differentiated. But also on the left is this other clapping, clicking instrument, and it's also not only separate into the other ear cup, and not only does it have its own frequency, but it's also more muted than the other. So now you have variations of depth, essentially. The organ is the loudest, then comes that high-pitched, higher frequency instrument that's on the right ear cup with the organ, but they're separate. And on the left ear cup, you have this ticking, kind of wood clicking, clappy thing on the left, which is more muted than everything else, but you can still hear it, and it has its own tonality and its own character. Now, that's very hard to do for a mobile thing, right? Certainly the iPhone didn't do it, because the iPhone had much more muddied and more kind of pot of stuff. It's a potpourri of sound. But the Dragonfly Red seems to produce it much better overall. Okay? Now I could keep going and going and going and going, but my DJI Osmo only has so much battery. We're 35 minutes into this, almost 36 minutes. And we should try something else while we're at it, because I think the bottom line is whether or not the Dragonfly Red is an improvement based on compared to the phone. The answer is yes, at least to my iPhone. Now, if you ask me what is my iPhone's DAC, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's find out. iPhone XS Max DAC chip. What is it? Does it say? They have a teardown on Tech Insights, and I doubt that they will be able to tell me. Yeah, I'm doing a Command F to try to find the word DAC, but it's not showing up. What about if I go to What Hi-Fi? Do they have something? Maybe. Nope. What DAC is in the iPhone XS Max? I can't find it. All right, maybe somebody can find it. You can tell me, but I don't know. It's not easily available. So whatever DAC chipset, whatever implementation they're using is inferior to the Dragonfly Red, bottom line. If you have another phone, if you have an Android phone, if you have an LG phone that has, what is it, the LG V20, V30, whatever it is now, that's supposed to be a better DAC chip and amplifier chipset included, you may get a different experience. But with mine, with the top-of-the-line iPhone, it is absolutely clear to me, my personal preference would be the Dragonfly Red, even though you have this monstrous, arm's length of medical devices attached. This is what happens when you go to the hospital. They attach you to cords and then adapters, and they plug you into an iPhone to keep you alive. This is basically you're on life support. But before we move on, let's do something kind of crazy. What if you have a portable tube amplifier, like, I don't know, the B4, and you're going to turn on B4? Yes, you are. And you want to be able to use a portable tube with your Dragonfly Red, which is attached to your iPhone. Yes, as if you couldn't get dumber. You wanted to do this. Well, that's what I'm here for, to make things look stupider. So what we do is, let's plug in the 3.5mm to the 3.5mm that comes included with one of these. And you plug it into the input, and then you plug in your headphone into the output. And now it looks like not only are you on life support, but you're about to get brain surgery. This is how a science fiction show designs, science tech. This is it. Okay, so let's turn, when you turn this on, there's a popping on the right ear cup, which always happens with every headphone. So if you have one of these and that happens, it's natural. Okay, so let's play. Let's go to Haim. I don't want to listen to Interstellar again. Let's go to Haim. Bring this back up. Okay, so the volume here is maxed out at 100%. And we're going to play. And you can attenuate additional volume out of this. So you can get extra volume out of this. But here's the thing. You get that slight tubey sound from the B4. It's not, look, it's not an exceptional tube amplifier. It's nowhere like the Dark Voice, let's be honest with each other. But it does give you kind of a unique tubey sound for a semi-compact, dual-tubed amplifier, based on, works off of battery. So yeah, you can do something dumb like this. You can definitely do this. If you have another tube amplifier, as it has a 3.5mm in, you can probably do the same thing with that. So the Dragonfly Red does provide you an opportunity to play high-res files, especially if you're coming off of Tidal, or if you have FLAC files or other high-res file formats on your phone, your mobile device. You get the live support system going, then you plug the 3.5mm into another amplifier if you wanted to, or you get a tube amplifier, and now you've got more power. Not only that, but you also get a tubey sound. If you want to go down that direction, you certainly can do it, clearly. Hopefully that's been of some help. Now, for whom was the Dragonfly Red made? Do people really, normal people, do they really care how their music sounds on their mobile device? I don't know. I don't think that people are rushing out to buy the Dragonfly Red at $250. I don't think there's much of a market for that. I think audiophiles are doing it, and I think people who want to become audiophiles are doing it, and people who just seem interested in getting better sound without having to buy another phone may be interested in something like this. It's not necessarily a mass product, for every consumer, but I can say from my personal experience that it is in fact different from the phone itself and the mobile device itself. And is it worth a glance? Is it worth a look? Yeah, I'd say that. Is it worth $200 to $250? See, that's totally up to you. If you don't have a digital audio player, if you don't have an SR15, a Hibi R6, a Sony player, a Cowan, and keep going. But if you don't have any of these, then yeah, it might make sense to get the Dragonfly Red. But if you already have a dedicated digital audio player, I'm not quite sure it does make a whole lot of sense to get a Dragonfly Red for purposes of using with your mobile device, unless you don't have Wi-Fi access and your DAPs require Wi-Fi to stream. Then yes, I suppose. This is probably more suited. I would think that it's better suited really for laptops. If you have an old laptop with crappy 3.5mm and it just doesn't really give you good sound, and you don't want to put in money for, I don't know, a system like a JDS Labs or another more portable, like the Origin, the Mica Origin Generation 2, which is fairly portable. If you don't want to invest money in that, put money into that, then this may be an alternative. Now, the Mica Origin is about $100. This is about $250 to $200. So you do the math. You're going to have to do your own research about which one you think is better. But I think that the Dragonfly Red is probably a good option for people with older laptops who don't want to upgrade their laptop for whatever reason, want to get some upgraded sound, and do not have another DAC that they're interested in, or a DAC amp they're interested in. Then the Dragonfly Red is not only portable, but it does arguably provide a better experience. Not for me, not on my MacBook Pro, because the MacBook Pro has issues with the USB port. But on the mobile, I can say definitively from my own use, yes, it does provide a more tight, cleaner, more differentiated, more enjoyable experience than whatever is coming out of the phone directly. Hopefully that's been helpful. If you need any more information, obviously leave a comment, let me know. We will continue the process to review the D7200. If you want to know something more about the Dragonfly Red, if you want me to test it with some other type of device that I may have, let me know. I'm happy to do it. And I hope that you all have a wonderful Saturday. It is still 2:15, still early on Saturday, so you can still go out and enjoy the day. Have a wonderful day.